1810 Tortola. A humid tropical night cloaks the island. The air is thick with the sweet scent of molasses from the boiling sugar cauldrons. In the distance, the sugarcane fields should be quiet at this hour. But tonight, they echo with screams. High-pitched, agonized cries slice through the darkness. They mix with the crackle of flames and the hiss of boiling liquid. Enslaved people huddle in their huts, trembling. They know what those screams mean. They know where they're coming from. The great house and boiling house of a plantation. Locals call it the Farm of Death. On this farm, under cover of night, unspeakable tortures are inflicted on human beings. The man behind it all is Arthur William Hodge, a wealthy plantation owner with a charming smile and a heart of cruelty. His crimes shocked even the brutal world of Caribbean slavery. What earned this plantation such a hellish nickname? Tonight we delve into the true story of Arthur Hodge. Atrocities so ghastly made him one of the only slave owners in the British Empire ever executed for murdering his slaves. This is a tale of power and sadism, of boiling, whipping, and killing without mercy. It is fully factual and historically documented. Content warning: the following contains graphic violence. It may be distressing, but we must not look away. How did a respected gentleman become the most notorious slave killer of his time? What finally brought him to justice? Arthur William Hodge was born around 1763 into a prominent Tortola family. He was sent to England for the finest education. He attended Oriel College, Oxford, and later served as a second lieutenant in the 23rd Regiment of Foot. In London, Hodge appeared polite, poised, and accomplished. He was seen as a man of great manners. In 1703, he returned to Tortola to take charge of Belle Vue plantation after his father's death. Belle Vue sat high in the hills, overlooking the Caribbean Sea. Enslaved Africans labored there to produce sugar and rum. Hodge also entered politics, serving on the Executive Council and Legislative Assembly of the Virgin Islands. To white society, he was Honorable Arthur Hodge, wealthy and influential. But behind closed doors, a monster lived. He unleashed a reign of terror. Slaves soon knew him as a sadist who punished far beyond the cruel norms of the time. Belle Vue became the Farm of Death. Even other planters were astonished by the rate his slaves died. At first, the changes at Belle Vue were subtle. Perhaps the slaves were driven harder, punished more severely than before. But it soon became clear to the enslaved that their new master was far crueler than anyone they'd known. Hodge saw the people he owned not as humans, but as expendable objects for his wrath. Small mistakes could provoke terrifying punishments. Over the years, a dark legend grew around Belle Vue. Slaves from neighboring estates whispered of unmarked graves. Witnesses later said that in just 3 years, at least 60 enslaved people were buried there. Only one had died of natural causes. In 1708, when Hodge's wife Anne died, there weren't enough slaves left to dig her grave. One account claims he began with 140 slaves in 1803. By the end, only 35 were alive. The estate had become a death camp. Killing his own workforce didn't bother Hodge. He seemed to relish it. The horrors are documented by sworn witnesses. They are almost too ghastly to believe. Tom Boiler was tied down and whipped without pause for at least an hour. Hodge watched, never ordering it, stopped. When they finished, Tom collapsed, unable to walk. He was carried to the sick house, where he died a week later. Hodge sometimes used boiling water as a weapon. A witness saw him order kettles prepared to pour down slaves' throats. Margaret, the cook, and Elsie, the washerwoman, were accused of plotting to poison his family. Hodge declared he would put an end to them. Boiling water was poured down their throats. Witness Perrine George heard their screams. Moments later, she saw them choking, mouths horribly scalded. Both women died soon after from the torture. Even children weren't spared. 10-year-old Samson was dipped into a vat of boiling cane syrup. When Perrine passed the sick house, she saw his skin peeled off from the scalding. He died in agony. A 19-year-old youth was whipped, shackled, starved, and burned with a red-hot iron in his mouth. He soon died. Free black Cooper Peter was whipped and chained by Hodge until he died. Even freedom offered no protection. Hodge brutalized his own daughter Bella, age 8, born to a slave named Peggy. Witness Stephen McKeough saw Hodge strike Bella's head with a stick, splitting it open. He saw him kick her in the stomach with such force she flew several feet. She barely got up again. Other mixed-race children were tortured by near drowning. Hodge held their heads underwater until they almost died. The enslaved at Belle Vue lived in constant terror. Any day could bring whipping unto death, scalding, or burning. Even in an era of widespread cruelty, Hodge's behavior stood out. Other planters whispered he was insane. For years, he got away with murder. Local officials did nothing. Slaves had no voice to seek justice. Belle Vue became his personal kingdom of suffering. But one killing would finally bring his downfall. The victim's name was Prosper. He was accused of losing or stealing a mango. For this, Hodge ordered 100 lashes a day. Day after day, Prosper was whipped until he could no longer cry out. Too weak to stand, he was dragged to the sick house. He was left there without food or care. He died alone, wounds festering, maggots feeding on his back. His skin and flesh were torn away by the whip. Prosper's death in 1807 stirred whispers. But still, Hodge remained untouchable, at least for a time. The British Empire had outlawed the slave trade that year. Abolitionist sentiment was slowly growing. The Haitian Revolution still haunted planters. Fear of rebellion was ever present. Governor Hugh Elliot, newly appointed, heard of Hodge's atrocities. He was appalled by the lawlessness. In March 1811, Hodge was indicted for Prosper's murder. It was almost unheard of to charge a white man for killing a slave. Hodge fled Tortola, but a warrant was issued. He was tracked down and captured. His trial would become one of the most extraordinary in Caribbean history. It was set for April 25th, 1811. April 25th, 1811. The Court of King's Bench in Tortola hears the king versus Arthur Hodge. Crowds gather. Some hope for justice, others fear the precedent. Chief Justice Robertson presides. The jury is made up of white colonists. The prosecution brings overwhelming evidence. Witnesses recount years of cruelty and killings. Perrine George testifies about boiling water poured down throats. She describes Samson's skin peeling from scalding. Stephen McKeough testifies about the youth burned and starved, the free man Peter whipped to death, and Bella kicked and beaten. Daniel Ross, a justice of the peace, confirms Prosper's wounds and decay. The defense attacks witnesses' credibility. They claim slaves are property, like dogs. The prosecutor reacts with outrage. He warns of the vengeance of heaven for such thinking. The Chief Justice instructs the jury. The law makes no distinction between white and black in murder. After deliberation, the jury returns a verdict: guilty. They recommend mercy, but the sentence is death. Hodge will hang on May 8, 1811, near the Common Prison in Roadtown. Governor Elliot fears unrest. Militia patrols the island nightly. HMS Signet stands ready with Marines. Hodge spends the week in prayer with visiting Methodist ministers. He denies murdering Prosper, but admits harming many slaves. May 8, 1811. Crowds gather near the gallows. Armed soldiers stand guard. Hodge addresses the crowd, naming individuals and asking forgiveness. He seeks pardon from anyone he has wronged. The rope tightens. Arthur William Hodge hangs until dead. He is 48 years old. His body is buried at Belle Vue, near Prosper's grave. Hodge becomes the first and only British subject executed for murdering a slave in the West Indies. Planters across the Caribbean are shaken, but no similar executions follow. Belle Vue's soil hides countless unmarked graves. The farm of death is silent, but its history remains. The case becomes a touchstone in abolition debates. It proves masters can be held accountable, rarely. Arthur William Hodge is remembered as a serial killer under the cover of slavery. His victims' names live on in the record. The screams in the cane fields have faded, but their echo warns us of the horrors of unchecked power.